Hey everybody, this is Garrett with Earth and Time, and today I have a special guest, Ray. So today we're coming to you from Anderson, Texas, a town that has really been forgotten by time. I feel like I'm stepping back into the 1920s, the 1930s, and I'm fascinated by this little town. And we're going to go check it out, so come join us. Anderson, Texas, which you can see the end of the town right there at that stop sign for the most part, of at least the downtown portion. And you can see the other side of downtown here. So you're talking a block in size, and everything here looks like it's been frozen in time from the 1920s or the 1930s. And so I wanted to come share kind of some lost, maybe Texas small town history. I didn't see a whole lot about this place or a lot of other videos on it, so I thought I'd come share. So Anderson was established in 1845. However, there really was a community here starting in the 1830s, which really started by Henry Fanthorpe, who owned Fanthorp Inn. So here's the Fanthorp Inn, built by Henry Fanthorpe in 1834, and would become an important place in Texas history, as this was one of the way stations and places to stay as you're traveling some of the crossroads in Texas along the La Bahia Trail, which went from Louisiana all the way down to Goliad, or if you're going from Houston north towards the Waco area, the crossroads occurred right here, and this would be a place for you to stay in those different travels. So this became a famous resting stop for people like Sam Houston, for Ulysses S. Grant, for Zachary Taylor, and for Kenneth Anderson, the last vice president of the Republic of Texas. In fact, this is actually where he would pass away at. Here's the historic marker for Fanthorp Inn, and here's a little bit about the building itself and a little bit about what you can do, including taking stagecoach rides once a month here. Here are pictures of Henry Fanthorpe, Rachel Fanthorpe, their son John Fanthorpe, and Mary Ann Fanthorpe Stone. So now we've made it to the Fanthorpe family cemetery, and not only the Fanthorpes, Henry and Rachel buried here, the folks who owned the stagecoach site, but there's also the resting place for Kenneth Anderson, the last vice president of the Republic of Texas. And this is his site. The town is named after Kenneth Anderson, the last vice president of the Republic of Texas. And he was very important to history because he helped Texas become the 28th state in the United States and really helped annex the state and led a lot of those conversations. He unfortunately passed away at Fanthorp Inn, and because of that, they named the town after him here. Now, this is the county seat for the county of Grimes, and I'm sitting in front of the courthouse here, which is the Grimes Courthouse. And if you look at one direction here, and I turn around the other way, you can see why I call this really the town that time forgot. It's very quaint. It has a population of about 193 people today. At its heyday, it was up to about 3,000 people in the late 1800s. The courthouse behind me was also built in the late 1800s, and actually there's a series of courthouses here, and there's been a lot of interesting stories and things that happened here, including ties to the Bonnie and Clyde gang. One of their members was tried here. Bonnie and Clyde rode through this area, and there's a story about them in Navasota that I'll get to another time. One of the most interesting stories here is this was the site of a shootout, and it was actually a 6-day long gun battle that took place between a judge and a sheriff after an election where the sheriff didn't want to leave office and barricaded himself in here, and there ended up being this 6-day long shootout. The story goes the sheriff was voted out, and the citizens wanted to get him out immediately for whatever reason. Corruption, they weren't happy with what he was doing, and so he said, "I'm not leaving." And he held up inside this courthouse, so the citizens got together and decided to remove him by force, and he didn't like that. So a 6-day gun battle ensued here, and he eventually ended up getting shot, and they had to get him out of town in the middle of the night. But that took place here at this Grimes courthouse. In fact, you can still see some of the bullet holes, they say. Here's the historic placard for this courthouse, which is the center of government activities here in Grimes County. Now I'm here on a Sunday, so we can't go inside, but you can take a look and see what it looks like in there. So as we head from the courthouse, you can see the expanse of the downtown Anderson area in the center of commerce here, including some buildings that are definitely throwbacks, like this one that says drugs up on top and this old brick facade. You'll see the awnings and some of the other buildings as we come through here, but really feels like a town that time has forgotten. I could very easily see an old Model T Ford coming through, or cowboys riding through on horseback. And I wouldn't be surprised by any of that if I saw that here. You'll see it's really quiet here and there's not a whole lot of activity. Would be fun to come back sometime and check out some of the little stores here, like this old antique store. And if anybody needs a bathtub or rusty barbed wire, I have the place for you. I love the vintage Coca-Cola machine. I definitely need to come here when some more of these stores are open. Hi, there's a dog on top of the roof up there. We'll just call that Super Dog. Huh. So as I continue towards the end of the road, you see this old building. Now none of these have historic markers on them, so I'm not sure what each of them are, but you can tell they're pretty old. And knowing that the town's been here and it was established in 1845, I imagine some of these date back to, you know, pretty close to that era, including this old building. Check this old abandoned place out. I realized I was getting some glare there, so I want to try to let you see this old wooden building here. And this looks like it could have been some old hotel, some old saloon or bar back in the day. It doesn't have any historic markers on it either. You see, it looks like they're potentially restoring it or trying to restore it. And look at that old wallpaper in there, if y'all can see that. And look at the old plank boardwalks, which were very popular in the late 1800s to keep people out of the water and mud that would develop on the streets. And check out this old building. Most of the shops inside are all abandoned, but we'll go see what we can see when we look in here. Take a look at that old lamppost. Wow. Let's walk up these steps, and it looks like they're remodeling a number of these old buildings in this area. I wonder if they're going to make them a little bit more touristy and have some boutique-y type shops, or shops that'll bring in tourists potentially. You can see they're actually reframing the inside of this one. And this is an old dry cleaner. It's called Courthouse Cleaners. Huh. Pretty interesting. I was coming up this other side and past these old Coca-Cola machines. One not quite as old as the other one here, and they're doing some painting restoration. Look, they have a hardware store here, and it looks like they have a car show coming up, which would be pretty interesting to see. So this is the town of Anderson. That quick, I've walked through the town and I've explored it a bit. I hope you enjoyed seeing the town of Anderson with me. I really like coming to places like this and documenting these small towns, especially a town like this, which just, it really does feel like I'm stepping back in time. I can't say that enough, and I can't stop feeling that enough, that I could be on the set of any 1920s or 1930s movie somewhere in the Midwest, and you could film that with this as your backdrop and make a movie here, which they did make a movie here. Actually, Goldie Hawn made a movie here called Hope. I've never seen it, but I know she made a movie here, and some of the locals here were in that movie, so I heard about that while I was visiting. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video today in Anderson, Texas, a town that time has seemed to have forgotten, which I think is a really good thing. It's really neat seeing an old town like this and being able to see it in such a short span, and be able to explore a town like this that still feels like you're back in a previous time. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. Thank you all for joining me, and take care.